Welcome to ConLife. My name's Casey Murdoch. Welcome to the Chronicles of Comic Con channel. For a while now, I've had people asking me to write down all of my stories from my different travels around the country, going to different Comic Cons, because some of them you may find interesting, some of them you may not. Some Comic Cons may not be happy about me talking about this period, but at this point, I almost died again last night, and with everything going on with, I may not be able to ever write that book, and don't give a fuck anymore. So here we go. Zinga, come here. Lay down, sweet girl. Lay down. Lay down. Yeah, you'll be fine. So not knowing what was a Comic Con to begin with, I was a musician and had just spent several years of my life and all of my hard-earned bar tips on an album because I got suckered by a con artist into a studio. But luckily through that studio, met some people and made some friends, and that's its own story. But while that was going on, as I was about to release my album, some friends invited me down to San Diego Comic Con. I have never been to a Comic Con, didn't know what to expect out of a Comic Con. I am, my great uncle is Neil Hamilton from the original Batman show. I grew up loving superheroes and watching all that stuff with my dad, and have a small comic book collection at the time myself, but in no way was I a comic book aficionado or expert or even enthusiast by that matter, so I had no business going to a Comic Con. But they invited me anyway, knowing how much I do love superhero movies and I'm a huge superhero fan and all that kind of stuff. So I went down, got down to Comic Con, and they did not have a place for me to crash like I was told, and instead they invited me to go sleep on the lawn and hold them a place in line for Hall H, which I did. So I went and slept in San Diego in a mildewy grass and a pair of shorts and a t-shirt, fucking cold as hell, and saved them a place in Hall H in this crazy ass line. And they get there, bring me some coffee. We go into Hall H and some water because they know what's about to go down. I have no idea what's about to go down. We go into Hall H, and I spend all day in Hall H just watching movie trailer after movie trailer after movie trailer, blowing my mind at this major event. The 2,000-3,000 people that got crammed in there, it was a spectacle like nothing I'd ever seen. It blew me away, and that was just day one. Literally spent all day in Hall H. Hadn't even hit the convention hall yet. And as it turns out, when I looked down at my badge, I was wearing the badge of Gail Ann Hurd. Because back then, there was lots of, swaps going on and badge swapping, and you never know whose badge you're wearing at the time. I didn't know who Gail Ann Hurd was. Now, the following year would be the year that The Walking Dead would release, and they had a major promo down there that year. And the year before, I'm wearing her badge, and that was my first year into Comic-Con. No idea. But you know what? That's the way it was. And I got to hit the Comic-Con floor the second day, and it blew my damn mind. Of course it blew my mind. Why wouldn't it blow my mind? It blows most people's minds. Ran into athletes, ran into porn stars. Not that I was down there, but I'm just giving you a list of just just celebrity after celebrity, artists, people I'd never heard of, all kinds of great crafts, things to buy. I mean, there's just more. My mind was blown on the amount of things to look at San Diego Comic Con. And that did it for me. So I decided that September, I reached out to my friend JC and was like, come on, let's have a meeting. I'm like, want to start a podcast? Do you want to start a podcast, right? He's like, yeah. He's like, I want to do it where you recorded your album at that studio. I'm like, whoa, go ahead and have your meeting with them. The rights are shady as shit, and their son is going to, treat you like this, and hit me up when you're done. He called me the second he left, and he was like, you were right on everything. And I was like, yeah, all right, cool. Well, you and me, let's have our meeting. We decided to do a podcast, and I put an ad in the paper, and put together a podcast crew and a film crew, and Victor, where I was recording some music with him at his house, had the perfect setup already, so he let us do the podcast at his house, and Down the Roadshow podcast was born less than a year later from me going to my first Comic-Con. That was the effect Comic-Con had on me. And we had a blast, and so we put that together, and we filmed and did some audio podcasts and filmed a few of them. We were lucky enough to have Rampage Jackson on as one of our first guests, and Mark Christopher Lawrence as one of our first guests, and our friends band, All Night Pressure, which is an amazing reggae band from Orange County. They're no longer together. They all have their own amazing, awesome musical projects now. We were just, feeling blessed. It was an amazing thing. At the time, YouTube channel was only 15 minutes per upload that you could do. I actually lost a couple segments of the Mark Christopher Lawrence interview because they were 15 and 1 second or 15 and 15 seconds, and I didn't know, and I didn't have copies of those. Rookie mistake, very beginner mistake. After all, I was a musician learning my way in the video and the film era and all of that. So how did I get Rampage on? Well, Rampage Jackson came into OG's where I worked at the time, and I was bartending, and it was a slow weekend midday, and he was checking out an open space across the parking lot where he was going to open his new gym. Well, while he was there, some fans came up, and I was serving him, and some fans came up and wanted to get his autograph and pictures, and I gently shooed them away. I was let them know. I was look, while he's eating, he's currently kind of under my care, so if he decides that he wants to do autographs and pictures after this, then he can do so, but just let him have his meal and let him have his meeting. He's in the middle of a business meeting right now. And they were super cool about it, and came back, and he took pictures and autographs and blah, 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 blah. And lo and behold, starts a gym, starts becoming a regular at OG's, him and Dave, and or they're about to open the gym. They become regulars there as they're getting ready to open the gym. And so I talked them into letting me host their opening party and having my band play and getting a stage set up and helping with the marketing and filming an advertising commercial for the opening of the Rampage Fitness Academy, and getting all that, and in exchange, look, be one of my first guests on my brand new podcast. Worked out pretty well for me, I think. So Rampage came on. He was one of our first guests. He had his opening. The band played. Down the Road Show came and hosted the event. We live streamed the event, which is Aaron Sanchez came and helped us with that. It wasn't a very successful live stream because Ustream was the only space to live stream back then. We didn't have YouTube live streaming back then. YouTube was only 15 damn minutes long. And it was a blast. And that's how, boom, Down the Road Show was born, and I started podcasting, and we were the first official video podcast on YouTube. And when YouTube decided to expand their network and give everybody the opportunity to go from 15 minutes to 60 full minutes, they picked 100 channels, and Down the Road Show was one of the first 100 channels to get that expansion to the full 60 minutes. And I took advantage of that immediately while filming panels around the country at Comic-Cons, traveling around, hitting up different Wizard Worlds, because we had found out we were considered small press. So I hit up Wizard World for their one and only time they had a convention in Anaheim for a booth and tickets. Well, they gave me a lot of tickets, so I brought the full film crew and still photography, more than one, rotating people through. We had a booth, we had a blast. Went around and interviewed all kinds of celebrities. Had a good time. I think that was the one and only convention where Wizard World actually lived up to their promise and got me celebrity interviews. That same weekend, we were, and that was like two, mind you, two. I got a ton of celebrity interviews that weekend. And every down the road show interview after that was never given to me by a convention, even though they said they would, and was never given to me through an agent other than Cool Water. Love you, Cool Water. Derek, shout out Cool Water. That's the only agency in the Comic-Con circuit and sphere that ever worked with me. All the rest, I went around their backs and went behind their publicists and talked directly to the celebrities and got every single interview on my fucking own. Because that's how you got to get things done. So that's what we're doing at Anaheim in the Wizard World, and just having a blast. And and thank you, Kyle was my bass player, and he went to school for video news photography, and taught me most of the things I learned when I started video editing, compared to all the things I've learned from YouTube and other things since. But he did all the original Down the Road show, video editing production. So, much love for him for doing that. And he came and hung out with us that weekend, and it was just a blast. And Wizard World asked JC and myself to host the cosplay. It wasn't that. It was a costume contest is what they called it back then. Cosplay wasn't even really much of a word that was going around at the time. Or at least not in my mind. I hadn't heard it. And so we host the costume contest for them on a Saturday night. And that is where I met my boy Bat with Dark Knight Studios there, the logo up there, who's made the majority of my logos that I have used through all my projects and shirts as well. And he has his own shirt company and is recently married. Love him. Shout out Bat and Alicia. Okay, so where was I? Oh yeah, so costume contest. So we're there, and that's where I met him, because he starts heckling me and JC from like the third or fifth row. And me being the smart ass and I think I'm funnier than I am. I'm like, okay, you think you can do better? Come on up. He did better. He was funnier than me, and I didn't like that. So after about 5 minutes of that, I sent him back to his seat. And that's how Bat and I became friends and brothers. And then he hit me up later to film him after I cut my hair and donate it to Locks of Love. He wanted to donate his to the Pantene Hair Project. And so we filmed that, and he came, and that was what solidified our friendship. And we've been really good friends, and he's been my best friend ever since. And my brother. My family considers him brother. He is my brother. Today's his birthday. Happy birthday, Bat. Love you. Okay, so, and that was also where I met Jason Charles Miller. Love you, Jason. Shout out. He was one of the judges for that costume contest, and then he granted me an interview the next day on Sunday, which was a fun interview, and we've been friends ever since. And that was also where I met Elena Huffman for the first time, my goddess, and through this you will find out why I consider her my goddess and why I love her so much. She's just the sweetest woman on the planet. It was just an amazing weekend. I couldn't have asked for a better weekend. After my summer at San Diego Comic-Con, that being my first weekend at a Comic-Con as media, like, it really, boom, I was set. There's no going back from there. The con life was ingrained in me after that weekend. There was no going back. So, the second year, I go down to San Diego Comic-Con that next summer. My album's done. I'm promoting my album. I got a single out there on my website with a free download. I go down there with buttons, 5,000 buttons to hand out, and 5,000 pens. That's right. As in writing utensils, pens, with my website stamped on there for my music. Get some shirts together. Thank you, Stephanie, for making those shirts for my crew, which was basically my sister and myself and my niece Alyssa and some of her high school friends. And we went down there in the corner and I played my acoustic guitar for nerds walking by to San Diego Comic-Con that didn't give a fucking shit. And I don't blame them. And I've been down there year after year, and I've seen other people down there pimping their music or playing acoustic guitars thinking, wow, that was me my second year, and I kept walking because I didn't give a shit either. So that's just, it's Comic-Con. It is what it is. And so we're handing those out Thursday, Friday. We hand out Saturday. And an hour after the last pen is handed out on Saturday, two guys in Hall H get in a fight because their legs are touching. You know how they cram you in there in Hall H. And the one guy pulls out his brand new promotional pen that says The World of KC on it and stabs the other guy in the face, almost taking out his eyeball. You've heard the stories. Some of you were there. It goes down in Comic-Con infamy. In fact, it's become so infamous that even Chris Hardwick used it in one of his last stand-up specials where he talked about it. Hey, Chris, how you doing, man? That was me. That was my pen that guy got stabbed in the face with. And the next day, because that's how sick and twisted your humor is, you nerds, people were cosplaying. Hundreds of people showed up on Sunday at San Diego Comic-Con with pens and blood and makeup, and just they were cosplaying what had happened. So there we go. I permanently wrote my way into the Comic-Con and CONLIFE history books and showed that the pen is mightier than the guitar, or at least in my case. Also, still not funnier than Chris Hardwick, or most people for that matter. By year 3, I've been traveling around, doing the circuit now, hitting several Wizard Worlds around the country. And year 3 comes around, and I hit San Diego Comic-Con again, but this time as media, as down the road show. Have some fun getting down there and filming. New. That was kind of my moment. That was my moment I'll never forget that summer in San Diego. I'm walking. I just come through the pavilion, the upper pavilion where they have the celebrity signings, and you got the skylights coming through, and I was just coming through to the upstairs area to go down the stairs, or go down the escalators downstairs to the hall. Come through, turn left, head towards the escalators, and I hear behind me, down the road show, down the road show, down the road show. I'm like, holy shit, that's me. Stop, turn around. Sweet little guy. Sweet little guy comes running up to me. Hey, down the road show. Not even calling me by my name, calling me by down the road show. I fucking love it. I gotta ask you a question. I'm like, all right, this is gonna be fun. At this point, I got some a couple cool, celebrity interviews under my belt and on my YouTube channel, and I've been finally filming, full long hours, or not quite hours. I had to buy some upgrades and stuff, and I was almost getting to the full hour of production, being able to film a full hour of panels to put up on the show. And this guy comes up and he's like, yeah, I gotta ask you a question. So I'm like, okay, this could be anything. So are you gonna grow your hair back? Come on. I wouldn't have asked me that question. That was the last question I expected to come out of this guy's mouth. And I'm like, yeah, probably not. And he was right. I mean, it's, at this point, whatever it does, it does. I'm kind of done shaving it because the neuropathy in the head is pissing me off. But, I was like, done getting teased by my nieces and the family for that spot in the back that I kept hiding with my fedora. And they, OGs pretty much banned hats at work to piss me off. So that was the other reason I cut my hair. So it was mostly vanity. It was vanity. It was all vanity. That's why I cut my hair the last time and knew I wasn't going to grow it back. So I could honestly tell him I wasn't going to grow it back. But that was just a cool moment for me, not going to lie. But, that was uh, that was a fun moment because what else happened to me that summer. Oh, let's see, got invited to the Stan Lee party, went to a private party there. That was an absolute blast. Ran into Adrian Curry and some other friends on the party bus that was taking us back to the convention hall and dropping us off from there. Party ensued even more on the bus. There was poles. There were pole dancing. There was lots of people pole dancing. We got lots of great shows. It was a great ride back from that party. That was back when I was a heavy drinker. I had a good time. Then, as I'm walking, down the streets past the convention, ran into, a favorite cosplay friend of mine who don't know if they even remember drunkenly propositioning me that night. They were with a couple friends who were looking at me all strange. I don't think she wanted to be with them, but at the same time, I was not in that frame of mind or even what the fuck was I thinking? Anyway, we'll skip that night. So I kept walking and ran into another friend who was with two other friends and decided to load a bowl and smoke with him because I knew he smoked and, got a smoke. And one of them smoked with us. And those two guys turned out to be writers for Supernatural. And the one guy wrote like one of my all-time favorite episodes where the teddy bear commits suicide, and he was just like, he was explaining that to me while we were smoking weed right outside the convention hall at like 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. or some shit on a Friday or Saturday, and just like how, what's the most disturbing thing I could think of? Oh, a teddy bear committing suicide. I'm like, yep, that'll do it. Fun conversation. Walked off, ran into another celebrity friend from a group of other celebrities that I know that was shit-faced, and so I promised them I would get him back to his hotel because he wasn't familiar with San Diego and couldn't find his hotel, and he wasn't staying at the same hotel as everybody else, and it was all turned backwards. So I guided him back to his hotel and made sure he got there safe, and just one of those kinds of nights and those weekends, and we're just thing after thing, it just keeps happening and dropping in your lap, and that's just the way it goes. Kind of like my second weekend. My second year at Comic-Con. I've told this story many times on multiple channels. I'm going to tell it again here because it's one of my favorite stories real quick. I was lucky enough, fortunate enough, Mark Christopher Lawrence and Adam Baldwin had went to bat for me and got me on the set of Chuck the second to last day of shooting the very last season. Because, I was a fan. Yeah, love Chuck. Still do. In fact, I've been watching it recently. And I'd met Adam a number of Wizard Worlds and conventions, and he'd done a couple little videos for me, and I filmed a couple of his panels for him, and we'd grown kind of a friendship, and he was a really nice guy, and so the two of them going back for me, I can never repay and never thank. And so thank you both so much for doing that, Mark and Adam. You're amazing humans for doing that for me. So I had already been on the set of Chuck. And interviewed Zachary Levi and everybody, but other people were there, and Zachary meets a lot of people, so he's not going to recognize me. So there was this party called the Wrath of Khan party. Well, I couldn't get in because my friend who had the friends list used his very last name to get Stan Lee into the party. That's right. Stan Lee couldn't get into the biggest party, after party at San Diego Comic-Con, and had to go through a friend. Okay? So that's how I couldn't get in. So at this point, all my friends are in this party. I don't know anyone in San Diego. It's only my second year down there. And there's no way I'm not getting into this party. So it took me forever to even find the elevator that gets to the second story bar at the Hard Rock Hotel. You all know the bar that overlooks the little downtown area. And so I finally do, and it's like, this is after going in the wrong doors, going on wrong elevators, searching everywhere for it for, good hour. So I get down, this guy, hold the elevator, gets on behind me. Door starts closing. Oh, hold the elevator. Hold that. And in comes Zachary Levi with publicist, agent, who knows, anyone, some lady helping him. Door closes. Go up. He doesn't recognize me, nor should he. I have no idea who this guy is. Elevator doors open. This guy goes busting through the elevator, going to a party. I'm like, oh, this guy's going to make a fucking scene, and he doesn't belong there. I'm going to watch him and pace this. So I wait till he makes it halfway down this long hall. And at the end of the hall, you turn right, and you go through the security and show him your wristband to get into this extremely exclusive party. And so I wait till it gets halfway down the hall, and I start walking, not at a fast pace, but, at a nice medium pace. And I'm like, oh boy, here we go. And I hear Zach and them come out the elevator behind me. And she's like, do you know them? He's like, nope, no idea. And I'm just kind of giggling to myself. I'm like, oh boy, yeah, I don't know him either, but we're going to see how this goes. And he shoulder checks through both security guards, twice his size, into this massive party and disappears into the crowd. To which both security guards turn around and chase him, leaving the door wide open for me. So I just walked right into this party I didn't belong to and find my friends, which was where I got to meet Stan Lee for the first time that night, as well as a bunch of other celebrities. Met my friend Digger Mesh that night. That was the first time I met him, and a bunch of other Comic-Con friends that I've enjoyed hitting up and meeting and around the country and always dropping by their booths. That was just a fun night. Ran into Bud that night, Bud Bundy, that's right. Don't call him Bud. And I was drunk and called him Bud, and he got pissed off. And then I apologized and said, sorry, Bud, which pissed him off even further. But I was drunk. And I can't think of his name now, nor did I write it down. Don't care. But that was a blast of a party. And you know what? After several hours of beers and, I had to go to the bathroom. When it was time to go to the bathroom, I had to go through security. And security was like, where's your wristband? I'm like, they never gave me one. They're like, yeah, we've seen you here. Go ahead. We'll let you back in. And that was that. And that was never an issue. And that was the first time I got to meet Stan Lee. And I've met Stan Lee a bunch of times after that. And not like he ever remembered me each time either. But he's Stan Lee. I mean, how many people is he going to meet? Anyway. So, yeah, back to year 3. Doing all that. Blast. Saw a guy got hit by a car, drunk walking, like right through a green light. Like, pay attention. Don't drink so much while you're down there, nerds. Like, yeah, just, and hotel situation after hotel situation in San Diego. I won't even get to those stories. Like, those are, those are crazy. Pick who you're traveling down there with. Know them. That helps. But my next con after that was Wizard World Chicago. Drove out there with some friends, had a blast, ran into Chris Hardwick on the red carpet again, and finally got to interview him and ask him, hey, when you coming on another Roadshows podcast, which he still never has, Chris. You've still never officially been on the podcast, not the official podcast. But anyway, so this was before he was doing video, and before Nerdist really blew the fuck up the way it did. It was amazing. G4 was still going on, so he was doing a little bit of both, and it was a good time. And that was when Felicia Day almost broke her neck tripping over my mic cord. Learned my lesson on that one. Sorry about that, Felicia. And then joined, basically video bombed us and joined our interview. And it's one of my all-time favorite interviews. Just the craziest stuff. Check it out on Down the Road Show. And interviewed all kinds of people on that red carpet, and boom, got to run into Elena Huffman again, who was there on the red carpet, promoting her Spy Mom cartoon. And so that was my second time in 2 years talking to Elena, or third time even, actually, now that I think about it, interviewing her. So, love her to death. She's always been super gracious. So that was actually my second time, now that I think about it. Technically, that was my second time. Yeah, that was my second time. 10 years of Comic-Cons. Like, it gets mixed up. Like, it goes by fast. Goes by fast, for sure. But yeah, we got invited to Adrian Curry's birthday party while in Chicago. Was having a blast. Probably should have went to that. Definitely should have went to that. Didn't go to that. Why? Why, you ask? Did I not go to the Wizard World? Or why did I not go to Adrian Curry's private party in downtown Chicago? Instead, I went to the hotel bar. Well, see, earlier that day, I had filmed the Star Trek panel, the Star Trek Captain's panel. It had William Shatner, Avery Brooks from DS9, and Scott Bakula from Enterprise. Just the three of them. But it was cool. I was excited for it as a Star Trek fan. So I went and filmed it. And I'd finally gotten all my equipment up to par where I could film the entire panel and get the whole thing. And got a good seat. Got a good spot in there. Had the right equipment to get a good shot. So I did. So Garib and Stephen Seamus of Wizard World came up and asked me if they could have that footage too. I was like, there's no way I'm giving you that footage. That's going on my website. And they wanted to use it for theirs. And we had a handshake man's deal of, fine, you promote Down the Road show on your Wizard World website. And for the next several shows, especially after all the moderating I've been doing at different, panels and events for you. Yeah, sure. I'll give you my footage. Shook on it, gave him my footage. Later that day, Nick, thank you, Nick. Always respect you for this and look up to you for this. Later that day, Nick came and pulled me aside. He's like, I gotta tell you something. They came up and asked me to edit your footage because apparently they don't know how to access your footage. Well, thanks to the shitty Panasonic 2 camera I was using, if you didn't know how to transcode the footage, it wasn't just regular, it wasn't already video formatted. And I gave them the raw files because that's what they asked for. And then they went behind my back to get someone else to edit it because they were never going to live up on their deal. Thank you, Nick, for letting me know. So instead, I decided to go to the hotel bar that night with my friends, with my crew. Because I'd been moderating. At this point, I'd lost count of how many things I'd actually moderated for them. And all the celebrities' names of who I'd even moderated panels for at this point. So I walked right into the hotel bar and straight into the VIP section where all the celebrities were. Me and my boys sat right down, ordered a round of drinks for me and my friends, and had a blast. And started hobnobbing with the celebrities that I'd already been making friends with over the last couple of years and several Wizard World shows anyway. Had a good time. And I see them just outside the VIP ropes, looking over at me, talking about me. And they send the voiceover and like, Casey, can I talk to you for a second? Like, of course you can, brother. So, they just wanted me to come over and check on you and make sure you're having a good time and make sure you're not in press mode. I'm like, man, don't worry about it. I know the difference between off duty and on duty and being press and not being press. Relax. Secrets are safe here. I mean, now I'm telling them. Oh, okay, good. That's what I told them. No problem. See? Went back to drinking, had a good time. That's why I didn't go to that party in downtown Chicago instead. Because there was no way I was about to let people go back on a deal like that and not show my face. So I did. And had a blast. And then KB invited me to help with Rapture Horror Expo in Arizona. So I went out to that. What a weekend. Been telling stories from that weekend forever. Was hoping to have Ogre on today, but Ogre couldn't make it. Ogre was busy helping, his dad, as you gotta do. Ogre's one of those people. He's a helper. Likes to help. See? See how he helps? This is what Ogre did. Oh, Zinkus. Oh, my goodness. Oh, Zinkus. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. See this electric wheelchair? I didn't even know Ogre had the means, but he did. And while people were talking about me starting a GoFundMe so I could get an electric wheelchair because things have taken a turn for the worse. Like I said, I almost died again the other night. And getting around even this tiny apartment has become extremely difficult. And so thank you, Ogre, for blessing me and gifting me this chair. Just surprising me with it. What's your address? I'm like, why the hell do you want my address? Boom. This shows up 4 days later. So, God bless you, Ogre. Love you. And God bless you for coming into my life. So let's tell the story. Here's how I met Ogre to begin with. Go out there. I'm at Rapture Horror Expo. I'm like, all right, so what can I do to help? You know, helping KB set up and whatnot and doing this. I got a little booth there. Did I have a booth? I think I had a little booth there. Yeah, I did have a booth. I had a booth there. And he's like, hey, do you want to do the overhead announcements? I'm like, sure, yeah, that'd be fun. I've always kind of wanted to do that at a convention. Hell yeah. So Chris sets up the radio in my booth. I'm doing the overhead announcements. And he comes over and he's like, hey, John Kassir wants to do his own announcement for his own panel. Is that cool if he does? I'm like, what the fuck? Why would I care, first of all, if a celebrity wants to do their own overhead announcement for a panel? Second of all, if John Kassir, the motherfucking Crypt Keeper from my favorite HBO series growing up, wants to do his own overhead announcement, he has every right. Heck yeah. And he gets on there and does his panel announcement in the Crypt Keeper voice, which I wasn't even expecting. The entire convention hall stops. Wasn't a big convention, just a small little room, you know, in the lobby of like a hotel. But everybody freezes and everything goes silent because the Crypt Keeper is the overhead announcer talking about his own panel and doing the laugh and just like, it was the most amazing thing ever. Like, I'd never even heard this at another Comic-Con. It blew my mind. And then so after the panel, Chris comes over. He's like, hey, John had so much fun. He was wondering if he could do all the announcements all weekend. I'm like, fuck yeah, he can. So they ripped that out of my booth and went and put the overhead announcement system in John's booth for the weekend, which made the weekend that much more spectacular and just really solidified the horror theme and atmosphere of everything that was going on at the Rapture Horror. Was it Expo? I think it was Expo. That weekend, I was in charge of picking up celebrities from the airport. And if you were blinded when I picked you up, friends, from the airport, I'm sorry. But one of my headlights were out. And so I had the high beams on. And I was trying not to get us pulled over. Because getting pulled over to and from the airport while picking up celebrities for a convention would have been embarrassing. And that didn't happen. So that's why you're blinded when I was pulling up at curbsides, picking you up and just going round and round, back and forth between the airport and the convention. Oh, that was fun. But that weekend, I got to pack a bunch of them into my truck, let them let loose, because if you've never been to a corn maze haunted house with actual horror actors and you're a horror fan, then I don't know what to tell you. That is an experience I will never, ever, 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 ever forget. Thank you, Erin Marie Hogan. Like, you know, I laugh about it, and I know you feel bad about it, but like the security and that girl, they were overstepping. You were just having a good time. You didn't mean to make them cry. Like, they were overstepping and just trying to show how tough they were. Like, how often do these actors get to go out and participate in something like that? They don't. They do not, especially in the horror scene, because the horror is a small, fun-loving community that all knows each other and all knows all the damn actors. Like, they're gonna get recognized most of the time. So that was a blast. What a fun, what a fun night, and became friends with, Grandpa from Leatherface himself, John. Love you, brother. But things could have been different for me that weekend. Because, like, just this week, John was posting about, because it was 420. Those of you know, known me for a long time, know I celebrate 420. I've been a weed smoker and advocate since I was 18. And John was posting on 420 about Reefer Madness. I'm like, that stupid movie. But then I look closer. Reefer Madness, the movie musical. What's he talking about? Boom, boom, boom. Google. Holy crap, it's on Amazon Prime. This movie came out in 2005? Wait a minute. Let's back things up there. So I watch it. And now I'm just pissed off. I mean, it's probably one of the best movies ever made of all time as far as I'm concerned now. But I'm annoyed. Because I was at this convention with John. That's how we met. That's how we became Facebook friends. And I could have been interviewing him about Reefer Madness, the movie musical, which speaks right to my heart as a musical and music theater and drama and the advocacy and the satire and sarcasm in it and making fun of the original movie and prohibition and just all the fun things they did in that movie. It's fucking amazing. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. I could have been interviewing him about that as well as Crypt Keeper and other things. But no. What was I doing with my time? I was getting Leatherface, the actor, Andrew Bernarski, however the hell you say his name, he doesn't deserve my respect, to stop bothering all the other actors and guests, let alone regular people that are paid clienteles, from asking them if they could get him some cocaine. Holy fucking shit. That's not how I'm supposed to be spending my free time at a convention. And then when the party's going crazy on Saturday night, Ogre, I love you to death. This is how we became friends. He puked in my bed. So I didn't have anywhere to sleep Saturday night. We may have got him a little drunk. He may have been drinking a little too much because Stuart showed up in his Joker cosplay and it kind of freaked him out. The after party that night was a little too insane. We had to call the cops on Leatherface, Andrew. He tried to have his way with the cosplayer, and we weren't about to let that happen and go down because we believe women when they say that shit. And so we had him removed from the premises immediately. That's what I was doing with my horror experience instead of talking about a great weed movie with John. But that's how Ogre and I became friends, because other people were abandoning him, and I, helped cover him up, helped clean him up a little bit, and let him crash in my room, and not on the bed, obviously. That was gross, but he crashed on the floor in my room and stayed there, and I checked out on him throughout the night and made sure he was okay. I didn't do that to be paid back this way. But thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Love you. So that led to other adventures with Chris and at Wizard World and other conventions and helping him with C4. Getting started with C4, so using Wizard World as a great place because I was already in there and jumping around at all their different conventions. to recruit more artists and writers and celebrities and different people we wanted. Chris used me as his right-hand man to go after people he didn't feel comfortable talking to. You know Chris. If you know Chris or KB, he could be kind of a wet blanket at times. And he knew that. He would be the first to admit that about his personality. So he would sick me on them. So I would go after whoever. I don't give a crap. I don't care who you are. I'm going to go talk to you and your agent and see if I can get you at our convention. That actually went through the agents because that's different. Way different. So help him with all of that, and one we're at one Wizard World with some friends. Stan Lee's napping in the green room. Now, it's Stan Lee. He's up there. You got to give him his scheduled naps, especially for the amount they had him touring and doing, as well as still being a creator and running POW. And he's on this couch in the green room, just curled up in the fetal position, napping away. And I'm like, I'm going to be in a shit ton of trouble if I wake up Stan Lee at this convention. Because I'm up there getting coffee because I'm tired. I've been running around like a madman filming and doing stuff for Chronicles of Comic-Con because that's how I started this channel. Because at this point, I had made so many friends in the industry and interviewed so many different celebrities and whatnot and done this and that. And I was looking around like, all right, who haven't I interviewed, blah, 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 blah. And I actually kind of got bored. I got bored with Down the Road Show. So I started Chronicles of Comic-Con to do parody videos and put cosplayers and regular convention goers together with cosplayers and celebrities in different formats and just do goofy, funny videos that I thought were funny. And that's why I did the Joker video in San Diego that went viral and keeps going viral with Stuart Mazzeo, A Day with the Joker. Well, that was so much fun that I decided to film a follow-up. A Day with the Joker's follow-up was supposed to be A Day with Darth Vader. Or A Day with Vader. I was working on both titles. Either way, doesn't matter. So I was filming some stuff there that weekend, and I just filmed something with Kevin Sorbo down at his booth. Because it was perfect timing. He had a long line of cosplayers basically at his booth looking to get autographs. So I just threw Darth Vader at the end of it, and boom, boom, boom. And then we were going to film another piece with Kevin Sorbo in the green room, and then Paul McGillian. Paul and I had become friends through different Comic-Cons, and I'd filmed his panel, and we were, drinking buddies. We'd hit different bars together after Comic-Con was closed around the country as well. Love me some Paul. Love you, brother. Sweet guy. In fact, I'm pretty sure I owe the next round, but I stopped drinking, so that sucks. But he was coming up. He had this full bit worked out where he was going to have Darth Vader sit on his lap and like tell him his stories on his, basically be his therapist and tell him why he turned to the dark side type of a thing. And, he had this whole bit worked out. It was going to be funny. So I'm up there because I'm meeting him, Kevin Sorbo, and a couple other celebrities up in the green room. At this point, I've had full access for the Wizard World green room at all the green rooms because of all the panels I had moderated for them. And this was the first weekend that John, the new CEO, was taking over, which I never read my press briefings from them ever, so I didn't know who he was or what he looked like. My bad. So I'm up there, and I'm filming some stuff with Vader. Fixing himself a coffee, for this little bit I was going to put together, and waiting for the celebrities to show up. Someone had came in and seen that and went and got John real quick. So in comes John like a hurricane, not knowing who I am, freaking out on me. So I stopped filming. I'm like, whoa, all right, I'll remove myself from the situation. Come on, cosplay Vader. You're no longer an actor. You're a cosplayer at this moment. and leave the situation. And in comes, good old Aaron Gray from Buck Rogers of the 25th century, owner of Heroes for Hire. Right behind him, all scowling and pissed off. And, it was her that came in and saw me in there filming with Vader. I'd seen her. But I didn't think she was going to go rat me out to John because, just months earlier, I had moderated a panel for her. Now, if you've never moderated a panel for an older celebrity that only has 8 fucking people in their panel room, and you're wildly on IMDb trying to come up with questions and keep them talking for 55 fucking minutes, you know what? You would think you'd get a little more appreciation than that and maybe get remembered, but whatever the fuck. So, left, went and collected my belongings from my booth because it was a Sunday, because I wouldn't do that in the middle of a con weekend, let alone with the celebrities. I want to make sure they enjoy their weekend and that this is going down on their last day. So I went and packed up my booth and took everything back to the hotel room and put it back in the hotel room and stopped filming and went and enjoyed my con the best I could. I mean, but interesting. I did shut down. By the way, Wizard World, the lights that went down at the con, that was me earlier on that Friday. I was working with maintenance in the rafters. We were trying to get those ugly ass orange lights on the walls to turn off, but unfortunately they were also connected to the lights right in the entryway where everything went dark on 10, 20 booths. So that was funny to watch happen as we're in the rafters and watching that, and they're on the walkie-talkie, turn them on, turn them back on. Woo, maintenance was very embarrassed. I got away with a lot of stuff in the con scene, quite frankly. I didn't have anyone's permission. I just went and did that shit because I couldn't white balance my camera because that convention hall had the worst goddamn lighting ever. It was a pain in the butt to film there. So they really did me a favor anyway, because most of that footage was unusable. It sucked. So that is also why I stopped going to Wizard World conventions and stopped doing the Wizard World circuit. For those who have asked and those who have wondered, there's your story, there's your answer. And that's also why I never finished my day with Vader for this channel. But the climb for me with Down the Road Show was so much fun that at the time I was also up for consideration with C2E2 out of Chicago to be their main event host for the weekend, which was super cool. I was super excited to do that. But happily, I lost that out to Chris Hardwick. Because he's funnier than me, and he had a bigger following than me on all his social media. Why wouldn't I lose that out to Chris Hardwick? I'm a fan. I like Chris Hardwick. We've had many conversations off camera. Every time he's run into me at a convention or elsewhere or another event, Chris always remembers me. So thank you, Chris, for always remembering me, basically. But yeah, so I didn't get that, but I decided to go anyway. Went to C2E2. To support my friends, support their art, get some more footage for the channel, film some more panels. After all, Wizard World was wondering, how come Casey and Down the Road Show's getting all of our best panels? How come we don't have a film crew there? Because you wouldn't hire me. That's why. They eventually did that. Also took my idea for a lounge area for people to rest their feet. You're welcome, congoers. Anyway. But so I'm at C2E2, having a blast, doing my filming thing. And here comes the bitch session right now. And that's when Dan Farr comes up to me and is like, hey, I want to pick your brain. I'm starting a Comic-Con in Salt Lake. And I want to ask you a few questions. I want to pick your brain about, about the scene and what you think I should do. I'm like, ah, damn it, Dan. You beat me to it. Like, I was literally going to start my first con in Salt Lake because I knew it would be a huge success there. I knew how bad they needed that kind of entertainment in Utah. I just knew it. I knew it was going to be a huge success. So I'm like, all right, yeah, hit me up. Here's my number. Get back to California. And calls me right as I'm walking into 24 Hour Fitness to work out. So I stay outside, talk to him for like an hour and 15 minutes, I think. Missed my opportunity to work out because I had to go to work. Still bartending it all this time. I'm not making any money off Down the Road show. And all this money I'm spending is from tips from my gracious customers that know every time I'm going to a Comic-Con weekend, I could use a little extra spending cash. And so they would tip me better and more generously. So, oh, and shout out to Aaron Spalding, always helping with everything at Rapture and all things C4. Like, you're the go-to guys that I've ever worked with at any kind of event, man. Like, you know, if there was something that needed to be done, you found a way. You got it done. So, yeah, love you, brother. But yeah. So he calls me, Dan Farr, and he's like, all right, here's what I'm thinking for Salt Lake Comic-Con. Whoa, hit my mic. Talking with my hands. Here's what I'm thinking for San Diego Comic-Con. I want to bring in Adam West and William Shatner, and Stan Lee. The top three. Here's how much they cost, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, yeah, I already know how much they cost. I'm like, okay, but they're at every single convention I go to. It's like, yeah, that's because they're. I'm like, okay, but why don't you bring in someone else who would bring in a huge draw, has a giant fan base, and hasn't seen him in a while? It's like, who's that? I'm like, Nathan Fillion. It's like, oh, no, whatever. I'm like, you're just a fan. Whatever, you're a fanboy because you like Firefly and you're a brown coat. I'm like, first of all, not a brown coat, not a Firefly fan. I've enjoyed it. And not a fanboy of Nathan Fillion. Although the man does smell amazing. What cologne are you wearing, Nathan? I've stood next to him at many parties, and just like he always smells on point. Like, the man smells good. And he's just super charming and handsome. It's hard not to like the man in general. But the difference being is, see, I'm friends with the inner circle. And I know that Nathan hasn't been in the con circuit. He took some time off, and he hasn't been out there signing for his fans. But because I knew his agent, I knew he was about to come back out. Why? Because I helped run a Comic-Con, a small Comic-Con with Chris in Ventura County. So I had the inside information already. But now I'm just a fanboy that doesn't know what I'm talking about. And how many ticket sales you expecting? I don't know, maybe 10,000 if we're lucky, maybe 15,000. I'm like, bull crap, you're going to blow that away. Utah's been dying for this. What did I tell you? I was going to start one too, but you're beating it. You already got the investors and you're beating me to it, so there's no point in even trying to compete in that market now with you. There's no way we'll do more than that. I'm like, you'll do at least 30,000. At least 30,000. Trust me. No, whatever. Okay, but so that conversation didn't go anywhere. And he broke the records in Salt Lake City, broke the records on the first one with Adam West, William Shatner, and Stan Lee. And on their second Salt Lake Comic-Con, they had Nathan Fillion, and they, according to them, shattered every record in Comic-Con history books. Probably fudged some of those fucking numbers, you know. If you're counting all 3 days from one individual as 3 individuals from a 3-day pass, that's not really. Anyway, but you know, bravo to him and bravo to their success and everyone in Salt Lake that gets to enjoy an amazing Comic-Con. Any Comic-Con was going to be a success there no matter what. But, you know, that's Not a fanboy. Just happen to be right because I listen to my friends when they tell me stuff. But people are always asking me, what are your best celebrity moments? My goddess, Elena Huffman. And here's why. At Wizard World in Austin, 2011, my broke ass was running late. And I missed the taxi to the airport with my friends Wes, Dell, and Christine. And I was at the hotel, and I didn't have a dime left to get home, to make it from the hotel to the airport, and from the airport, I had a ride there to home, because I only lived 15 minutes from Orange County Airport. But I was fucked. And Elena saw the panic in my eyes and all across my face. I was like, what's going on, Casey? And I'm like, honestly, I just missed my taxi ride, and I don't have money for a taxi by myself to make it to the airport. I have no idea what to do. She's like, well, just jump in the limo with me. Because the celebrities get limo rides to and from. Or at least, for the big circuits, not my SUV like I was doing at C4 and Rapture. And I'm like, oh my God, you're a lifesaver. Yes. So I jump in there, and who's in there but young Chandler Riggs and his dad. I'd already known Chandler, so that was cool. They were comfortable with me getting in there because I had filmed a little thing with Chandler and a couple other celebrities roaming the back halls of a convention hall, arguing over whether zombies were more real or ghosts were more real. Which was an absolute fun to do that as a filmmaker and be directed by another director, and then hand it off to someone else to be edited and be a part of that process as just a nobody in the industry, because I was the only one that they kept asking if they could borrow cameras, and everyone's like no, and I'm like, you can't borrow a camera, but I'll come play. Let's go do that. So that was a blast to make that. And, I think they eventually took that video down. You can't even find it on YouTube anymore. It was a cool, cute little video. But so I got in there with Elena and Chandler and one other celebrity, can't remember her name. Got a ride to the airport. Get to the airport, and Elena is like, "Are you hungry?" I'm like, "Well, I'm Murdoch. I'm always hungry. I have hypoglycemia. I'm always hungry. I need to eat." It's just, it gets bad when I don't. And she's like, ooh, let's get barbecue. I love Texas barbecue, so let's get some Texas barbecue before we head home. I'm like, yeah, I love Texas barbecue too. So she buys me Texas barbecue, and we sit down, and Kevin Sorbo comes by and creepily hangs over us while talking to us. Not much of a fan of him anymore, but, politics aside, it is what it is. As a human being, not a fan. And we have a wonderful conversation after he left, and, as we always do, and just mad respect for her as she is as a person and the way she treats people. And she bought me dinner. And to this day, at every convention or every event or wherever we've been, she's never let me buy her dinner or pay her back. Even this last time when we were in Albuquerque, where I was living, the Albuquerque Comic Con, she was a guest there. So went, and that was my last interview with her. Thanks for doing that again. That was a blast. Just always love catching up with you face to face when I get that opportunity. And then she went out and had some drinks with me and my sister, and once again, wouldn't let me buy all the rounds all night, that's, I'll never get to pay her back for that dinner when she saved my ass and gave me a ride from the hotel to the airport. And that's why she's my goddess. I mean, just, who does that, right? Who does that? Elena Huffman does that. That's who does that. But any Comic-Con experience is always immensely better with a hug from Doug Jones. And if you're a Doug Jones fan, then you know this. And I call him face hugs because he's just constantly wrapping his face hands, those large hands, and just, like like the alien just, adapted me into their society and making me one of theirs. It's just, love Doug. He's just such a gracious, warm person. I once asked him if he's an empath. I think he's an empath. He probably doesn't know he's an empath. There's no way he's not an empath. But yeah, just the amount of empathy and graciousness and kindness and loving spirit that comes out of him is just amazing. Drove up to see, him do a Q&A after Shape of Water came out, and to see that because it was so excited for him, and that was an amazing movie, Oscar winner, damn right. So yeah, that's one of my all-time favorite movies now. But any experience with him has always been a blast at any con, and running into him at different cons. And there was one San Diego year he had to get from one booth to another booth, but didn't really have the help he needed, and didn't know where the one booth was compared to the other booth. And it was like, oh, Doug, I'm glad I came by. I got you. So I helped him weave through the crowd and get people out of our way, and then out of the convention, and then out into the foyer area where there was less traffic, and then back into the convention hall to where I knew his booth was, and then dropped him off at where was it? One of the statues, one of them booths with the badass toys that I can't afford, where he did a signing for another hour, and then I came back and collected him, and then him and one of his friends and we went and got some ice cream together after that. That was a good time. I got ice cream with Doug Jones. Good time. But yeah, just being able to be there, the perfect timing in his time of need, and just knowing that floor like the back of my hand, because I'm running around it always trying to get from point A to point B with my camera without killing people or myself. Doing it for a celebrity without my camera was easy. Much easier. Big difference. But yeah, one of my all-time favorite stories is Cary Hiroyuki Tagawa. We had him as a guest at C4 in Ventura. That's right. Mortal Kombat! That's right. You know who I'm talking about. First of all, one of my favorite people I've probably ever got to meet and talk to. Like, not because I was a fan to begin with, because of my experience getting to know him as a human being. I had to pick him up from the train station. I had not picked anyone up from the train station yet. The train station was 10 feet outside of the gates for the fairgrounds. I didn't know that. Neither did the MapQuest on my phone. As I was in my truck doing circles on streets, coming back in and out of the convention area, just like lost for like 45 minutes while this poor man is standing out in the fucking blazing sun in the middle of summer with his backpack. Just a backpack for a weekend convention. And I finally find him. And he gets in my truck, and I'm like super embarrassed. I'm like, oh my God, you were right there. Like, literally circling the poor guy. And he gets in, and I'm like, whoa, what was that? Just before I saw something fall off his backpack, which later turned out to be the most bright green neon spider you ever seen, that showed up when it was just me in my truck alone leaving the convention when I was fucking stoned and drunk as fuck. Mostly drunk. And don't like spiders. And damn near crashed my truck driving out of the back gate. Like that, the moon caught it just right, and it glue. It was like glowing in the dark on the passenger seat. Anyway, that gift from Cary. So anyway, go to check Cary in, and his room's not ready. Ugh. We had so many issues with checking in celebrities in the rooms and different things like that with the hotel. It was such a miserable experience. Not because of us, because of the fucking hotel. But finally get his room, get it ready, get him up to his room, and go up to his room and spend like 2.5 hours in his room just chatting with him. But not about movies and all that. No, talking about real life. Talking about
how he'd always wanted to be a healer. And that's how he got into karate, was to learn to heal. But he was upset that his master wouldn't teach him the healing properties. And his master was telling him that not until you've learned every way to break a person will we teach you to heal a person. So he quit karate and ended up in the movie business. But in all of his studies, he had developed his own healing technique, which I've used, Carrie, and showed me, not just demonstrated it on me, but utilized it on me and taught it to me so that I could do it myself. This breathing healing technique that he had taught himself, because much like, most people know we only use 10% of the brain. Well, the lungs are no different. We don't use the full capacity of our lungs either, for that matter. So once you're utilizing that with, focus and thought and proper seated positions and the way you twerk your body with these breaths and the way you breathe out, he developed this completely amazing thing that definitely helped me that weekend with some of the pains I was going through. And, just got to chat with him about life and his views and his opinions and his understandings of different philosophies and how he melded those together to make that. And it was an amazing experience just hanging out in his hotel room doing that and him helping heal me. And that whole weekend, he spent most of the weekend doing that to his fans, like literally healing fans and teaching them his healing method that he developed, instead of just sitting behind the booth and signing autographs the entire time and whatnot. We went out to dinner a few times. Got to go out to dinner with him and Vernon Wells and Mark Christopher Lawrence and who's the other celebrity? I don't know, but just us out there having dinner at a little round table and swapping con stories. The fact that I get to hear these convention stories about their crazy fans and their awesome and loving fans as well from these celebrities firsthand. And now I actually have some of my own crazy con stories to share. Was like not a place I expected it to be at that time in my life, and it was not lost on me in the moment. So I definitely enjoyed every moment of it for sure. Who was the other celebrity? What an asshole of me for forgetting. It was a long time ago. A lot of alcohol involved back then. I was a raging alcoholic. But that was Kerry, and that was his nature, and he's told me he wanted to be a healer. That's why he got into karate, to heal people, and so that was an amazing thing. And we kind of formed a brotherhood that weekend, and it was a shame. It was a shame he didn't get paid that weekend because of whatever contract reasons with Chris, and I have nothing to do with that, and that was the end of our friendship. I didn't get paid either, Carrie. Chris didn't pay me for any of those conventions, and that's why I quit C4 to begin with. A month and a half before the last convention, was because Chris spent all the marketing money that was promised me on his cars that he was making and traveling around to all these conventions to promote, when we had our full list of people, and we didn't need him to do that. We needed the money for actual radio commercials and video advertisements online that I had planned out and whatnot. And at the time, I had spent all my money traveling around to these conventions. Chris didn't spend his money on me to do this. This was my money to help Chris fill the conventions with these different celebrities and artists and writers and creators that he wanted, and cosplayers as well. So I was flat broke and couldn't even keep my cell phone on. So I was in a financially kind of shitty spot and in a pissed off place, and let him know, like, look, stop talking down to me, stop treating me like shit. I know you can't afford to even pay me, let alone the marketing budget. I'm gonna move forward with this anyway, but you got to stop talking to me this way, which he doubled down on being a dick. So I walked away from the convention, and that broke up our friendship, which we eventually mended at a convention years later, because he was in a wheelchair before I ended up in a wheelchair, and I was just starting to use a cane, and we were talking about neuropathy issues and different health issues that we had similar in common. And he just died a year ago and choked to death because of similar issues, and I have the same similar choking issues and breathing issues that keeps me from breathing and has almost killed me several times, let alone when I'm trying to eat or drink or just try to sleep. It happens when I'm wide awake too, or extra stressed out. So it's also why I'm wearing this, so I don't move my neck around too much to inflame things and make it worse. But for the most part, like I've had an amazing decade of convention travels and doing this and doing that. I've told my story with Bruce Campbell and why that fucking guy's a piece of shit. And I mean, everyone he works with fucking can't stand him, so you don't need me to tell you that. But fans eat it up. They love it. They just think it's part of the character he plays. No, he's a fucking dick. Haven't had negative, in general, issues. There's that one time with Yvette Nicole Brown from Community. That one kind of pissed me off. It was a San Diego after party. I've heard great things. I'd never met her before. Had already met Ken Jeong that weekend randomly. He was checking into the Hard Rock Hotel, and he was in a swarm of people. This was before Hard Rock moved the ropes all the way to the curb. It was still at the actual door. And he was just swarm of people doing selfies, taking pictures with fans. And I'm watching this. I'm like, he's trying to get away from them, and he cannot. So I'm like, well, good time to take advantage of my convention experience and being a fan as well. And I'm like, hey, can I get a selfie too? And jump in, get a selfie with Ken Jeong, and like, all right, everyone, boom, boom, disperse the crowd. I'm like, that's enough. He's got to check into the hotel and get him out of the crowd so he can check into the hotel. So I got to help Ken Jeong, and I was like, all right. And I've heard nothing but nice things about Yvette. So I wasn't expecting this. And there's an after-party event going on, and my friend Jason Charles Miller was the main act. And that weekend was the last weekend I would ever play with a live band, as he asked me to open for him that Sunday as well for like an after Comic-Con show, like in the middle of the afternoon when everyone's getting done with Comic-Con. That was an absolute blast. Thanks for having me open for you. And that was my last set as a musician with my band, and that was a blast. But the night before, or was it Friday night? Anyway, that weekend he was playing at one of the bars downtown that the Green Sun is a part owner in, the little country bar, I forget the name of it. And so he's playing down there, and he's like, text me when you get there so I can come get you in and bring you up into the VIP section. I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm out standing by, outside the ropes, and Yvette was on a little table outside on the sidewalk just inside the ropes. And I'm like, hey, how's it going? Just trying to be friendly. I'm like, oh, hey. Turns away. I'm just standing there waiting, looking at my phone, waiting for Jason to come get me up. And she leans over to security and is like, this guy's bothering me. Can you remove him? Can you ask him to leave? And security's like, excuse me, can you leave? You gotta leave the premise. I'm like, first of all, no, it's a free country. I'm not going anywhere. Well, don't make me force you, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, you can't be here bugging celebrities. Okay, I'm like, first, not here bugging anyone. Second, not here for her. Third, my friend should be out to get me any second. He's the main act. And that's when Jason Charles Miller comes walking up. It's like, Casey, yeah, there you go. Come on, he's with me. And I got to go in, went up to the VIP section, and continued on my wonderful weekend. But kind of a shame that she would treat some random nobody like that on the street. Like, I wasn't asking for an autograph or selfie or anything. Like, literally just patiently waiting for my friend, who was the main act, to get me in to the show like everybody else. Because you're normal people, too, with extraordinary jobs. And you're not better than me. That's how I feel about that. But other than that, 2 incidences. 10 years. So many... 2 incidences. Okay, well, Edward Furlong was a fucking joke and a half. That guy's so burnt out from all the drugs and whatnot. Like, I would never, ever, if anyone ever asks you to moderate a panel for Edward Furlong, do not do that. You will do all the talking, like trying to coax sentences out of him, to talk to his fans and answer questions that aren't just like yes, no, and just was the most mind-numbing experience I've ever been through in 10 years of Comic-Conning and con life. Like, just don't do it. I'm warning you now. Just don't do it. Save yourself the headache, for the love of God. Oh, I wish I'd have known. But yeah, moderating panels. Miss it. Running around like a madman, getting footage and interviewing people. Miss it. I'm gonna miss the con life. Can't do it anymore. Had to sell the camera because I couldn't carry it anymore. Can't edit anymore because of what's going on with these. Getting this live stream set up is just painful enough. And I'm in so much pain from sitting here in this chair and this neck and everything. It's just, I can't do it. So this is the reason I started the Con Life podcast, was to bring all those travels and all that community and all those people together for shows. And then everything failed me in my body, and I wasn't able to actually do any of these podcasts. So I hope you enjoy the 4 or 5 I did before this, and this is my last Con Life podcast. Thank you for your support of the Chronicles of Comic-Con channel over all these years. Thank you for supporting Down the Road Show and Murdoch Worldwide Entertainment. Go support Dark Knight Studios, my boy Bat, and all he does. If you need a logo, if you need a shirt, if you need anything, he is your man. He is the man. My best friend, my brother. Love you. Happy birthday, Bat. You big brat. Start celebrating your birthday from now on. Next year, you need to celebrate your birthday. That's what I ask of you, Bat, is for you to celebrate your birthday next year. Much love to you all. Have a happy con life. And celebrities are people too. Stop freaking out on them. Be nice. And celebrities, you're people too. Stop being assholes to those that you think are lesser and not important.